Welcome to Connection Oasis. We're Hope and Rene, two friends sharing our stories, lessons, and laughter. So I'm just going to say this. I am a recovering control freak, and some days are better than others. And today is a prime example of the challenges that I run into regularly with this situation. So, we had a call scheduled today and we were going to go over the podcast and then actually record this podcast. And I ran into so many issues today with timing and being a control freak. The one thing that I try to control most is my time. If I can't control my time, I feel like my world just spins out of control. And I have tried to be better at that, but today was just a real challenge. And every time I made a new plan, it got thrown off track. And so then I made a new plan and it got thrown off track until finally I'm just thinking that maybe I should not even plan today and just let it go through because I did. As I sat down to record this, I'm like, I am so frustrated about how my day has gone. We've had to push this back. It's still not the right timing. I'm still going to have to kind of maneuver some things. Oh, and look at what we're talking about today, being a control freak.
Perfect. Perfect.
That is a real-time example of what that challenge looks like on a daily basis. So I was a huge control freak. I don't know, is there a word that's like a level down from control freak? I'm not sure.
Control addict.
Maybe. So, I mean, I am trying to be a recovering control freak, and there are levels to that as I have learned. And here's the weird thing about it. Like when I was full on in my control freak mode, I owned it. I loved it. I was not ashamed of it. I was very proud of it. I would have everything color coded on a spreadsheet, on a chart, something I could check off, all of that stuff. And but then even the fun times were scheduled. Like, okay, we have from 2 to 4 today that we're going to do this fun activity, and that's when you have your fun today, and the rest of the time is not for fun.
I remember those. I remember those.
And it sounds a little ridiculous now. But I had 3 kids. I had a career, a house, husband, all of it. And I thought I had it handled. And, from that aspect of it, it was handled. But as far as actually being able to find time to live the life I was controlling, that was not in the plan.
While you were perfecting the art of control, I was beginning to figure out boundaries. I looked at you and I saw confidence. I thought you were lining up your goals, knocking them down, but I couldn't see how tightly that you were gripping that control.
Right. And I think that's the illusion that people get maybe almost addicted to. I felt like control did make me competent and confident. If you can control what's happening, obviously you have a lot of confidence. And I thought it was maturity. I was like, oh, look at me, like I'm a grown up now. Like I got this all going on. But I think below all of those feelings, it really provided safety for me. I know growing up, I felt like so many things were out of my control. I was disappointed on a regular basis. I was did not feel safe sometimes in the situations that I was in as a child, and I think that's really the root of why I felt the need to control everything because it made me feel safe.
Yeah, we are both oldest siblings. And as kids, we had what I think society today would consider a lot of responsibility for our younger
Mm-hmm.
siblings.
Oh
Um,
my.
yeah, I recall a very ugly fight between myself and my younger brother. He obviously did not consider me an authority figure. I was, I believe, 13,
Oh
which would
Lord.
have made him like 9. Um, we got into an incredibly ridiculous fight about something. I don't even remember. We were 2 kids. So we obviously took this fight to just unnecessary lengths. And at one point, I kicked him out of the house. Seemed like the thing to do at the time. So he did what any self-respecting 9-year-old would do, and he threatened to tell mom. So I'm like, well, get out, walk to mom's work, tell her all about it. So on his way out the front door, he pauses to lob a final insult at me. And you know what he actually said? I honestly can't remember,
Yeah.
but I just remember that it enraged me. And so, after all, I'm in charge while mom's at work.
Right.
Like me, I'm the boss here. So as he kind of hesitated in the doorway to insult me, I decided, I'm just going to slam this door in his face. Well, I miscalculated. And I actually hit him in the face with the door.
Oh.
Yeah, I instantly felt horrible. I was ashamed. I couldn't believe I've done this. He's crying, I'm crying. Eventually just sat down and cried together. And, he didn't even tell mom. Like I didn't even get in trouble for this. But I think I tell that story to demonstrate that we were kids who were responsible for other kids. So at that age, it's difficult to understand what it means to be in control and responsible for somebody else. So maybe this was part of our origin story for why we both kind of turned into control freaks. I mean, I'm sure it's not all of it, but maybe a piece.
Yeah, for sure. Because same. I had to babysit my sister when we were younger.
Hmm.
I can give you similar stories where one or both of us were in physical danger. And, and yeah, and as being the oldest, you're the one who got in trouble. Like you're the one who got in trouble if things went badly,
Absolutely.
no
Yes.
matter how much it was their fault, and it always was.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. No question.
So I think, there did become a time where we equated control with responsibility. And that's a pretty easy bridge to see. But I think then there was also a time where it went from control and responsibility to being rigid. And
Yes.
for me, at least, everything that I jumped into headfirst, cannonballed right into, um, then it became something else I needed to manage. And so the more and more that I tried to accomplish personally and professionally, and even with side hustles, the more rigid that I became. And I didn't really leave time for, like, or if I did, it was scheduled to stop and smell the roses or to just enjoy a moment. That
Be
didn't
present.
exist for me
Yeah.
for many of those years.
Yeah. I know. I catch myself even still now thinking at times, oh, I should move on to the next thing. And then I have to stop myself and just be like, am I being present right now? Am I
Mm.
just seeing what's happening around me?
Right. Because it is so easy to be in a situation where you're no longer controlling your day, you're no longer controlling your schedule. It's all basically laid out for you the minute that you get up in the morning and it controls you. And this all there comes a point where it all has to be done today.
Yes.
There is no pushing anything off. And when I was at that point in my life, I was kind of like, what what am I doing? What am I really accomplishing here? I realized that I started missing the version of me that was a little bit more spontaneous and a little bit more adventure seeking because I didn't have time for that. I wasn't leaving myself time for that. And so that part of me started to disappear. And I had this illusion that controlling my life made me happy, but it
But
didn't.
yeah, yeah. I think during that period of time is when I started to kind of notice that you were scheduling times to try to relax. But I think even, when we did family things together and it was supposed to be time for fun, I could see that there was still tension that you were carrying with you. And I didn't exactly know how to interpret it. But I think that's fair because you didn't know how to interpret that either.
No, I didn't. And, we had three kids, and two of them were older, and one was very young. And so there was this big gap in between when we did things as a family, like what everybody could do. And so I then always spent all of my fun time making sure that everybody else got to do what they wanted to do.
Yes.
And there was very little time, if any, for me to do what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I didn't plan any time for myself. I lived from accomplishment to accomplishment and didn't actually enjoy life. Now, here's the thing: I do still get a lot of joy from accomplishing something, but sometimes it doesn't. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, I guess. We picked a project. I picked a project for us. Let me back that up. I picked a project for us. We're joking about doing this long-term project some point in the future. And I literally, like, probably the next day, just jumped into it for all of us. And I was like, hey, look, we're all doing this now. We talked about it yesterday. We're doing it today.
I remember my husband and I being like, we did say we wanted to do this sometime in the future and we weren't specific, so here we go.
Today is the future. um, but so I would do that. I would pick these big projects, and at the end there would be this nice payoff because but that project took over 2 years,
Yes.
and there was so much that happened in that 2 years, and I don't know. It was cool to complete that project, but it was definitely not worth that 2 years of my life, I don't think. So that's when I really started as we as we got knee deep into that project, and it felt like it was never going to end, and it was totally running my life. I was like, okay, I think this might be a point where I don't really want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. And so I tried. I tried to back off and let go a little bit. And I don't think I've ever been worse at anything else in my entire life than trying to let go. And I remember challenging myself. I was like, okay, this weekend, I am not planning anything. I am just going to be open to whatever happens. And, let's see what life has to bring. And I woke up. Okay, well, I guess I'll start with coffee. That's what I do. And, that's what I'm going to do. So I grab my coffee and then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll sit on the couch and drink my coffee. And I literally sat there looking at the wall like, what the hell am I going to do for the next 48 hours? Like, what do people do when they don't do anything?
What is nothing? What is nothing?
What is nothing? It was so, I mean, if anything really kind of kicks you in the butt and says, this is this stark contrast to what you've been doing. Like, you need to find balance. Clearly, this is not my balance. But it is a contrast so that I can start kind of seeing like what to do. And I was just so lost that day. And I have to tell you, like, I did feel unsafe. I was like, okay, how am I going to get X, Y, and Z done? How, like, and if I don't do X, Y, and Z, then this is going to fall apart. And like, I really did start feeling very unsafe. And I think that's really when it hit me that that was my safety net. And how am I going to, how am I going to live without that? How am I going to do life without that safety net?
I think everybody searches for their safety net in a different way. And that's one of the things that I think that we hint at in the book, but I don't know that we ever actually address fully that peace and safety, I think, are what everybody's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has an illusion of what that looks like until that illusion is shattered.
Yes. So I was like, okay, let's kind of go back to similar to what I was doing and just try to back off slowly rather than trying to stop cold turkey because that did not work for me.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't work for many people.
and so I just tried to start building in. I still scheduled my day. Obviously, I still had things that need to be done, but I did build in time, and I built in. I built in some space in my life. Like I remember I put in like this hammock swing in my backyard. I never really used my backyard too much. And so I put in this hammock swing because I'm like, I have a beautiful backyard and it's under this beautiful peach tree and it's just a great space. So I'm going to put this in and I'm going to make sure I use it every day. I didn't give myself a rigid time. Anytime the weather was appropriate, I was going to at least try to use it that day. And I started figuring out that I could spend, you know, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there throughout the day. And then eventually, when I started getting into more of meditation and I would listen to meditation podcast, then I would go out there and I would sit in my spot. And that kind of became my happy space, at that point. So it was really not about just throwing away every spreadsheet that I've ever made and not planning my life. It was really about working in those moments for myself, and those moments for my kids. I mean, I still did things with my kids, but it just wasn't as rigid. And instead of being like, okay, we're going to spend 2 hours doing this, and this is exactly what we're going to do, it might be like, hey, let's head this direction for the afternoon and see what we find and we can do. And it just wasn't quite as rigid, and that started helping me to let go. And like I said, just like today, I still have issues with trying to control some of the things when I really need them to go well. But for the most part, I have been able to find more peace and safety in that in this lifestyle than when I was trying to be a total control freak. I remember at one point I came across this quote and it said, relax. Nothing is under control. And oh my Lord, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, what? Nothing? No, that can't be true. So I remember meditating on that quote a lot. And I would just look at it in my office. I put it in my office. And, every once in a while when I would get uptight, I would look at it and I would be like, you know what? That is so true. Like, it's not really that nothing is under control, but nothing needs to be under control. Like things can just happen and you can
Mhm.
just go with it and you can be okay and you can still feel safe and you can still feel productive and you can still feel all of those things without controlling them. And that's kind of what I'm working towards at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that any kind of trauma that we have makes us seek control and safety because we equate the two, control and safety.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that they're not really related. Like control is definitely an illusion in every case
Yes.
because the world will throw anything at you at any time and you absolutely don't see it coming, but you can still be absolutely fine.
Mm,
So not seeing what's coming is terrifying to people in a lot of different ways, but it's actually just a way for you to practice um, taking control of your own peace and your own safety.
for sure. And to me now it more looks like, okay, if it doesn't go right, it'll be okay. And if something breaks, I'll just handle it. I mean, that's it. Like it doesn't I wish I could do a study of all of the times that I tried to have control and it still didn't go as planned versus the times I didn't have control. And how many times were the results the same, you know, or similar?
Yeah. Yeah. Or did we veered this way and that way because we were trying to control where this thing went, but it probably landed where it was going to land anyway.
Exactly.
Like we thought we were controlling something when really, we were a bowling ball with, the bumper pads on. Like we were going
Mm,
to end up at the end of the alley.
yes.
We just thought we were controlling how we got there.
Exactly. And the level of stress and lack of peace in doing that and most likely having the same outcome is like, what's the point at that point? Like, this is where we're
Right.
going. Just go there.
Yeah. It sounds overly simplistic, but it's just that. It's just, let go.
Yeah, it,
you
it is
know?
very simple. Like 5%, 5%. What is one
Yes.
small thing today that I typically try to control? And what if I don't today?
Yes.
Just that's where I am. What if I don't control this one thing and I
Yeah.
let it just not be on my plate?
Right. This thing went wrong today. Okay.
Hmm.
So that thing went wrong today. So now we've got that under control. Something was going to go wrong today. There it is. Let's just move forward.
Exactly. So, I mean, I still love a good plan. I still love a good checklist. I still have lots of spreadsheets. I just don't need them to save me or make me safe. I do still need to accomplish things in my life. There are things that do still need a timeline. I still have a job. I still have bills to pay, but I don't need to control everything to feel safe. And that's, I think, the biggest difference.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us here at Connection Oasis, where we discuss real life lessons about relationships and boundaries.
And becoming who you actually are without the fluff.